program week by week because we didn't have any films. We had to go ask the distributors, could you please help us with films? We don't have any title on Friday, what should we do? And now suddenly, we can plan on 1 month, 2 months ahead. We can do a premiere every weekend. It's a completely different situation. Of course, the European films are more available, art house films, documentaries. There are a lot of documentaries screened in cinemas in Sweden, in digital. We know there are restored classics. We have, for instance, Hollywood Classics, a company in London. They are now digitizing all the big classics from Hollywood. We have a European project called Europe's Finest, which are offering 50 European classics in 2K quality, restored classics. We can show short films, locally produced films, and also, of course, as in many parts of the world, we have a lot of schools where young people are making film, learning how to make film. And suddenly, through digital, they can actually show their films to an audience and get feedback from the audience. So this is also a great development. But, as I said, we see this so much more than just film. We believe that the cinema has a completely new role in society. Because you can, of course, connect your projector to any digital device at all. This means the modernization of the cinema as a whole, the flexibility I talked about before. You can use it in the daytime for different things. You can use it for new content. And you will actually reach new audiences that don't go to the cinema anymore. And I will come back to that. The live events, for us, has been a true revolution at the FHP, my organization. Because in the small town, and this goes for the whole world, you don't get the big rock artist, you don't get the big opera, you don't get the big sports event. A lot of the major things that people in the big cities are used to doesn't happen in the small town. A lot of the young people are moving into the cities because the lack of cultural content. But now, since we're doing the live broadcast via satellite in HD quality, 5.1 surround sound, we are now doing opera, live concerts, theater, musicals, ballets, sports events, even an art exhibition and a circus show. And I will explain about that. The image you see there, can we go back just one? Can you go back one? Other. There you go. No one. The one before. No, the one with David Bowie on the one before. There you go. I was just jumping. Okay, sorry. That was I just want to tell you, that was the poster for the first thing we did. Was already back in October 2003 when we did a live concert with David Bowie. Yeah, there you go. Just an example. Okay, we can go on. Sorry. But for us, the big surprise and the big hit has been the Metropolitan Opera from New York. We tried a lot of alternative content from 2003 up to 2007, but we only had 1 or 2 every year. There was no distributor really working with this, so we could only get what was available. And then we got an offer to do a season of opera from the Met. And we said, from our point of view, we believe that opera is very highbrow. It's for a educated, upper-class city audience. So we don't really believe in this, but we are really, really willing to test it because we believe that we should try to show everything. This is part of our mission. So the operas from New York, and I know that in Colombia there are several cinemas doing these live broadcasts, right? Yeah. So for you who don't know, it's at 1 o'clock in the afternoon in New York, which means I think it's the same time here in Colombia, right? Something like that. Yeah. In Sweden, it's great. It's 7 in the evening on Saturday night. It's a perfect time to show an opera. We get them with English subtitles because we're such a small language that there's no point in trying to finance translation into Swedish. But most Swedes know English and have learned English in school, so it's not a big problem. And of course, opera is very expressive, so you don't really always need to know the words. Today, more than 1,600 cinemas are showing Met opera in the world in 54 countries, with more than 2 million visitors per year. And some people have said, some of the traditionalists have said, well look, this will be the death of opera because people will go to the cinema instead of going to the opera house. But for the Met, it's a question of survival because they have seen that they get a 60% increase in audiences in the actual opera house in New York because people get inspired to see the opera for real. So this is the way all of these live performances work. It's not a cannibalization of the screen, of the actual live performance, but it's an inspiration. And the Met actually have said that they can see an increase of Swedish people coming to the Metropolitan Opera in New York that they have never seen before. And for us, we work now with 110 cinemas in Sweden, which is a lot. We only have 9 million people living in Sweden. It's like Bogota, right? So, and we have more than 60,000 people watching these operas every year in small rural towns. We are not talking about the big cities, but in small rural towns all over Sweden, and they love it. We are also now working with National Theatre in London, where we have 5 plays this season. It's on Thursday night at 8, which is great. English subtitles, very high quality, really interesting theatre. We're doing ballet from the Bolshoi Ballet in Moscow. 5 ballets this season, on Sundays at 5 o'clock. Also a very good time to do ballet. We're working with live ballets from the Royal Opera House in London. We also have one pre-recorded ballet in 3D from St. Petersburg, she said. We're doing the New Year's concert from Berlin, from the Berlin Philharmonics, which we did last year as well, which was a huge success. In terms of rock concerts, there's really no output of those. There's 1 or 2 every year, but not like a season. So we just did the Red Hot Chili Peppers, who were promoting their new album by doing a live concert in Germany, which was broadcast all over the world. And these are some of the other things that we have done so far in terms of live rock, but we would love to have more of it. We're doing something called Leonardo Live in January, which is a guided tour of the biggest exhibition ever of the paintings, the surviving paintings of Leonardo da Vinci. So that will be a guide and art experts walking around the exhibition, showing the paintings to the audience all over the world. So this is a completely new way of doing it. We're also doing domestic live events, and we're getting more and more of them all the time. So this is, for instance, Madame Butterfly from something called the Folk Opera in Sweden. They're also in high definition, 5.1 surround, with 5 to 7 cameras, and really high quality. And we also see that the audience is very interested in the domestic live performances. Even so much so, we are actually having 7 cinemas in the capital of Stockholm in Sweden, doing live performances of theatre and opera from the stages in Stockholm. Because there is also the thing that you don't, if you're not used to going to the theatre, there's a big threshold going into the big golden doors of the theatre. So you can actually go to your local cinema and try it, even if you only have like 2 blocks away from the actual theatre. So this is also an interesting experience for us. And also, these performances are available internationally. So if we can hook you up with a satellite, we could do live opera from Sweden and Colombia. So these are the things we're doing this season. We did a wonderful sing-along musical concert where a famous artist was doing big classical musical numbers. The audience in the cinemas had, a program with all the lyrics, so everyone was supposed to sing along in these musical numbers. We did the exact same thing last year with opera. So the audience in the cinemas were singing along in the big opera choruses of Aida, for instance, and the big operas. And they loved it. The audience really loved that whole participation thing. We're doing Madame Butterfly, Wear It Like a Crown, which is Alternative Circus by Circus Circus. And we're doing the Old Goldoni comedy, Servant of Two Masters, from the Royal Dramatic Theatre. All in all, we have a record number of live performances from August this year until May next year, 32 live broadcasts. That's a lot. In December, I think we have 7 live performances all in all during that month. And this, if you could just go on to the next one, and the next one. This is very hard to see, but this gives you an idea. This is all of the live stuff we're doing this season. And of course, for the small town cinema, where they only maybe have one person working, or people coming in to work as volunteers, not every cinema can do everything. So people can actually choose what they would like to screen. But it's very impressive. And what you don't see, I guess, down to the right-hand side is the 4 3D events we're doing that are already pre-recorded, which is Ballet Giselle, Catwalk 3D, which is a documentary about the Fashion Week in Paris, a live concert recorded with Peter Gabriel, and a live concert with The Cure. And just to talk a bit about live event, because it's so much more work working with live events than working with film. You know, with a film, you put in an ad in the newspaper, you sit down in the box office and you wait for your audience. But the audience isn't used to seeing opera or theater in the cinema, so you really have to find your audience. And to us, in the small towns, it has really been a big question of making this an event. So, for instance, the tickets are at least twice the price of a cinema ticket. A cinema ticket in Sweden is approximately €9. We have started with pre-sales. We never did that before because we want people to think that if I don't buy a ticket in advance, I won't be able to get a seat. So I really have to do this. And it's worked really good. And also the red carpet, the VIP treatment of the audience. They must really feel that they are, welcome. The audience actually dresses up. The ladies go to the hairdresser before, looking nice for the theater. And in the intermissions, there's champagne, there are sandwiches, there's something being served. And this is, of course, a very good source for revenue for the cinemas as well. And also, marketing these live events. You have to be very innovative and find new ways. But of course, the best one is emails and newsletters. That's really the way. If you have your audience in your hand already, you can just send them the information. So we work with social media, our own website. We do trailers for everything, posters, of course. We have national sponsors for some of the events. We do competitions so you can win tickets. And a lot of networking with other like theater associations or opera fans, for instance. Trying to work with focus groups, which is the audience for this event, and also with traditional advertising. Recently we have started a new project which is also part of the development of cinema in terms of what you can do with digital, and that's the interactive